Live from the bridge at the Launchpad Studios in Huntington, New York, it's Sports Talk New York with your hosts, Mark Rosenman and AJ Carter. Sports Talk New York is sponsored in part by Cardboard Memories, Clearview, Long Island, the law firm of Decolator, Cohen, and DePrisco, the Phoenix Tube Company, PIMS Incorporated, fueling brand performance for 30 years, Prince Associates for all your insurance needs, and Soho Table Hockey. Here are your hosts, Mark and AJ.
And good Sunday evening to you, Mark Roseman. And yes, AJ Carter is live in studio. He is not, if you are watching the YouTube live or the Facebook live.
Mark is cutting me off camera,
well,
but that's...
There's a reason. The reason why AJ is not on camera, you've known that he's been away since January, rehearsing for The Masked Singer. However, he's really stayed in character, and he's still wearing his costume. It is a little unnerving.
Mark, you just want people to see my tan.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's it. That's it. So I am tanned and, as they say, rested.
Tanned and is that what they say?
That was the phrase, tanned and rested.
All right. You don't have
Look it up.
You don't have any
George
bikini
Steinbrenner.
lines? We're okay?
No. I did not make the beach.
Okay. Did not make the beach?
I'm not a beach person.
Then why go Florida? Well,
Because in 4 letters, GOLF.
all right. All right. It's time now for the Major League Baseball Report with John Compinger. It's sponsored by Cardboard Memories, which is one of Long Island's most reputable memorabilia retail stores for over 29 years. You know, of Cardboard Memories, Scott Stamell is known for his knowledge and savvy of authentic autographs and has been featured on HBO's Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel. Scott takes a look at every piece of autographed memorabilia. He knows it's purchased directly from the source. They also specialize in custom framing, appraisals, and authentication, and they're always buying collections large and small. Like Cardboard Memories run your next charity fundraising auction. Call them to find out how they can help your organization at no cost. Cardboard Memories, located at 6401 Jericho Turnpike, Comac, New York. Visit them on the web at cardboardmemories.com. I am sure that, right now, Jacob deGrom memorabilia is at a premium. I was texting back and forth with a friend of mine the other night, and in some respects, I'm kind of upset that, as much as I love Tom Seaver, I think I was too young to really appreciate Tom Seaver in his prime. I looked forward to all the Dwight Gooden starts. I looked forward, at least for one season, to Matt Harvey starts. But these deGrom starts are just something beyond anything I've ever witnessed. What about you, John? What have you seen this season? And it's off the charts.
It's off the charts because this is a guy who's in the prime of his career and yet somehow found another gear in terms of velocity, somehow found another gear in terms of just attitude and precision and wanting to be better. This is a guy, I always say it. There are athletes that are talented and there are athletes that work really hard. And the ones that can find the right balance, the right mix of working really hard and having that natural talent, those are the ones that are the best of the best. And deGrom is proving that he's still trying to find another level, even after 2 straight Cy Youngs and a 3rd place vote last year. He's still trying to find that extra level. And I think that's what makes him amazing. And I think that's why we're starting to talk about Hall of Fame with deGrom.
Well, Mark, I think you hit one thing that's very interesting. You said you don't remember Seaver. I do.
No, I didn't say
but also what I remember
him.
I think a better comparison. Do you remember the early days of Dwight Gooden? And like Friday night was Doc Gooden's. And Friday night, Gooden was pitching. It was must-see TV. And what you wanted to watch, say, what will he do now? What haven't we seen before? I think you're seeing the same thing with deGrom. It's not just go out and pitch a good game and win. What new are you going to see? What new height is he going to hit? I think deGrom pitching is must-see TV.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's because, and look, the other thing they're starting to do this year is they're playing better behind him. They're not doing, they're not blowing, they're not giving you totally nothing to work with. Not a lot, but a little more. And remember, the thing with deGrom, you look at his record, it doesn't reflect his talent and his pitching.
Doesn't even come
and
close.
Maybe this is the year finally that his record matches his pitching.
Well, John,
this is when we got to start to talk about, are we going to see another 1985 Doc Gooden this year from deGrom?
Right. And you and I spoke about this, and I felt that game, when, he had the 9 strikeouts going for the 10th, and all of a sudden he was behind and the team rallied and won that game. I saw that as the turning point, that I feel that the worm had finally turned and they were going to start giving him run support. And the next game, they put a 6th spot up there. So I really think that, I think they're going to stop pressing. And I think they realize they don't even need a run anymore. They need one run the way he's pitching.
There's one thing came up with this weekend, this series with the Nationals, we should talk about, John, and that's the microcosm, what's good with this team and what's bad with this team. And that's fielding. When fielding gets in the way, that costs them games. So they played a very crisp game today. They fielded well, and they won the game. They fielded well behind DeGrom. Yesterday, they didn't field well. They lost the game. It put them in a hole from the very start. What point do you think they're going to take a look at the season and say, we got to think about defense also, especially with this pitching staff? At what point do they say, J.D. Davis is a DH. What do we do without a DH? What are they going to do? Who's going to play third base? When are they going to look at the outfield and say, we have to have better fielders?
I will say this. It's not as if J.D. Davis is having a normal year so far, and I'm sure he'll normalize. I'm sure he'll come back to he'll regress to the mean. But right now, you look at his numbers. This is a guy you have to keep in the lineup and hope he doesn't hurt you. Now,
Absolutely.
You don't want to put him out there every day. You also want to get Luis Guillorme out there for some games. And I've said this at the beginning of the season. There is a fine line with getting everybody in there and making sure that you take advantage of the talents of all the players you have. That includes J.D. Davis's offense. That includes Luis Guillorme's defense. I have a feeling a couple of these games might come at the expense of Jeff McNeil. He was benched today. I wonder how many of these days off he's going to get going forward. And in terms of the outfield, I think Albert Almora has earned a few more fourth outfielder opportunities than he's gotten. You see what he can do. You saw what he can do defensively to end the 6th today. Almora, I think, can be a factor if he plays more. From defense alone, and I think he'll hit a little bit if he's given semi-regular opportunity.
Totally agree. I think JD has to be in the lineup. I think he's going to help you more with your bat than he does hurt you with the glove. We only have a few minutes here. Let's pivot to Steven Matz having an unbelievable start to the season. During the offseason before he was traded, we had Phil Reagan on here, and Phil definitely said that Steven Matz had some mechanical issues. They went back, they looked at tape, and he felt that Matz was going to have a huge year. I don't know how much of it's that and how much is it change of scenery. What do you think?
I think it's a mix of both for sure. When Phil Regan has shown recently that he can spot mechanical flaws and fix them right away. He did it basically when he took over for Dave Island, the year Island was fired in the middle of the season. So there's definitely something to that. I also do think that Matt's needed a change of scenery. He was the Long Island kid, and he was also a part of the mythical 5 aces where you had 5 homegrown pitchers with ace stuff. I don't think it was ever going to be all put together for Matz here. I think a trade was just what he needed. He is to baseball what Alexei Kovalev was years ago for the Rangers in the 90s. I don't think he would have ever put it all together as he did when he got traded to Pittsburgh and had Mario Lemieux on his line. I think Matz is the new Alexei Kovalev.
Nice. That's a great SAT analogy. We'll leave with that one. John Coppinger heard it here each and every week with a Major League Baseball report. We'll take a quick break. On the other side, Dmitri Young joins us, so keep it tuned right here.
Do you own a business? When is the last time you actually had a visit from or even spoke with your insurance representative? Did your current insurance agency sell to another firm or maybe merge, leaving you without the attention you deserve? Prince Associates is a provider of commercial insurance nationwide and represents some of the finest insurance carriers in the industry. Prince Associates has been representing commercial clients since 1965, and we continue to grow and offer our personal services in a competitive and ever-changing market. If you want back the insurance relationship you deserve, reach out to us, 516-822-6550. That's area code 516-822-6550. And ask for Leith or Craig, or find us on the web at www.princeins.com.
And welcome back to Sports Talk New York on the 365 Sportscast Network. Glad you're with us this evening. Joining us now is a man who was selected 4th overall by the St. Louis Cardinals in the 1991 Major League Baseball draft. He carved out a 13-year playing career in the majors, playing for the St. Louis Cardinals. If you're watching on YouTube, you see me wearing my Cincinnati Reds jersey in his honor, the Detroit Tigers, and the Washington Nationals. He was a 2-time All-Star, winner of the National League Comeback Player of the Year award. He played almost 1,400 games in the majors, finished with 171 home runs, 633 RBIs, a .292 lifetime batting average. He's currently one of the hosts, along with Dennis Farrell, professional wrestler Petey Williams, punk band Rancid lead singer Lars Fredrickson, and hockey legend Darren McCarty of the Wrestling Perspective podcast, as well as the head coach at Adolfo Carmelo High School in California. It is a pleasure to welcome the meat hook himself, Dmitri Young, to Sports Talk New York. Welcome, Dmitri.
Hey, thank you. That was one heck of an introduction, with the exception of where I'm a head coach at. It is Adolfo Camarillo.
Okay. I knew I was going to mispronounce that.
Get your pronunciation right, Mark. You know,
I got everything else right, so you can give me a pass on it. So wait a minute. Before we get into your career, we have to start off with what is one of the greatest sports nicknames ever, the meat hook. Not only is it great to have a nickname, but to be able to also have it as a tattoo is taking it to a whole new level. So tell us about the nickname and tell us about the story behind the tattoo.
Well, let's start with the nickname, the meat hook. And, well, during the era that I played in, which was the late 90s and the 2000s, Chris Berman was great at giving guys nicknames and stuff like that. But my name came from Carl Ravitch. And he was the one that came up with the meat hook on Baseball Tonight back in 1999. And let me say that name stuck like glue, because I'm currently 235 pounds now upon retirement and handling my type 2 diabetes. But when I played, I was anywhere from 250 to, when I was with the Nationals, when I was the comeback player of the year, I hit 320. I hit my weight.
Oh, wow. And the tattoo?
Well, upon retirement, I started doing lessons and camps and clinics out here in Camarillo. What'd you call it, Carmelo?
All right.
Mark's not very good at these things.
One mistake. Listen, Dmitri, for a guy that made a lot of mistakes, you can't be telling someone that made one mistake to keep going at it.
Oh, you got to ride. You got to dig in deep. But anyway, with the tattoo, I wound up getting it from my tattooist, Omi Rosenstock, who's done over 100 Major League Baseball players, and I was his first one. And I have it right on my left arm, right in the elbow crease. And let me tell you, when you get a tattoo there, it kind of stings. But upon retirement, I came back out here, started doing camps and clinics. And a friend of mine was like, hey, you need to brand yourself. And I always went by hook or the meat hook. And what better tattoo than the one with a meat hook tattoo on it? So I have a meat hook cleaver, and there it is. And now I have it on hats, T-shirts, bags, you name it, cigarette lighters.
I got to get it to meat.
When he said branding, I think they actually meant, on how you sell yourself, not literal branding.
No. It's like how you sell yourself. I didn't brand. No, it's an actual tattoo. No way.
On top of it, when you and Roush were together on the Nationals, you guys definitely led the league in tattoos, no question about it. So, all right, what I feel that I find truly fascinating, that when we do the show over the years, when you speak to ball players and you hear a lot about influences people had on hitting and some of the things that you would never think about it. Like for me, Lenny Randle told us this story about how when he played for Ted Williams took him out fishing, and Ted Williams told him that batting is a lot like fishing. He said, he showed him how you hold the rod and how you have relaxed hands and things like that. And if I remember this correctly, your dad, Navy Lieutenant Commander Larry Young, used his flight training as a model for teaching you how to hit, citing relaxed concentration and confidence. What did your dad mean to you, as well as your brother Delman's road to the majors and the two of you, your hitting?
I think that's just that was built by design and by nature, because once I had a bat in my hand, my dad's influence was more along the lines of having focus and discipline, because he was one of the first Black Air 14 pilots out there, and going through basic training and being called the N-word and having to go through that struggle to become a pilot. This was in the late 70s. And so everything that he went through, he was teaching that to me through baseball. And a lot of that was having focus, because you're going to have names called, how you're going to be spit on. Well, not spit on, but, that was how Black players were portrayed way back when. But, now it's, you have to have the focus of being able to do your job, basically. And that's basically what he taught me, was how to, do my job and do it effectively. And I was saying with Dell, and, that's what I'm doing now as a head coach, teaching them how to play my style, and that's play with no fear. You go play like your hair's on fire. You play it hard, you play it right. Some of the unwritten rules of baseball is how you go out there and play. When you hit a ground ball to shortstop and you're 100% out, are you just gonna just be mad and just like half-ass it down the line, or are you gonna bust your tail because you don't know what the shortstop's gonna do? He might airmail it over the first baseman's head, and you end up at second base, and then a base hit, and guess what? Team wins, and it's because you hustled. And just little things like that was instilled in me and my brother, and that's what I'm teaching these kids at Camarillo High School.
Yeah, you also take a look at your high school career at Rio Mesa, and you hit 400, never hit below that in all of your high school playing times. You earned the UA Today High School All-American honors in your senior season. The coach there was a guy named Rich Duran, who was a great athlete in his own right, spent some time in the Brewers organization. What did he mean to your career as well?
Well, funny you say that, was because I had 2 years of varsity as a 7th and 8th grader at Alabama Christian Academy in Montgomery, Alabama, before my dad's orders got changed. We were supposed to go to Pensacola, Florida. I was going to go to Tate High School, where former big leaguer Travis Fryman, when he was a senior at that time, was there, and we visited the school, and I was supposed to go there, but my dad's orders got changed to come out here to California to Point Magoo. And so my dad had a choice, either stay on base and we go to Channel Islands High School, where former big leaguer Jacob Cruz went, and we actually were in the same grade, graduated in 91 together. But I wound up going to Rio Mesa because, Coach Duran's professional experience and the way that he sold the school. And that was absolutely the right choice. And when we pulled up, because we drove from Montgomery, Alabama, all the way to Southern California. And that was a 14-year-old Dmitri, an 8-year-old Deetra, that's my sister right after me, a 2-year-old Delman, and a 6-month-old Deanne. And we were in 2 cars. My mom was driving the Toyota van. My dad was driving the VW Raddick. And I was in the VW Raddick with him. And it was powder blue, too. So imagine us looking like the Black Griswolds going across America.
Your grandmother wasn't on the roof, was she?
Right.
Oh, no. And so on the way there, we go stop and we fill up with gas, and my mom fed my brother and sister, well, fed all of us except for me, because I was in the parking lot swinging the bat probably 200 times during the time that they filled up the gas tanks and fed my brothers and sisters. Wow. Getting ready to come up there to Rio Mesa. So when I went out and tried out, the team was already picked. It was like early February, the first week of February, and I want to say games started in like 2 weeks from that point, and the team was already picked, and I was nervous as God knows what when I went out there and did a couple of swings and misses, and then Coach Duran came over there and he was like, "Hey man, just relax, everything's good." Because I'm in no man's land. I don't know a soul out here. And then the next thing you know, bam, 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 I hit 7 out. And then like a day later, coach was like, you ever played the outfield? And up to that point, I never been in the outfield. And I was like, no, but I can learn. And started ever since.
It's amazing. It's so interesting when you look back on careers and some of the things that have impacts that at that time, you don't like minor trades, different trades, or the players that people bring in. So you look at what happened for you. At first, the Cardinals' depth with John Marbury, Ron Gant, Ray Langford, Brian Jordan in positions that you played. Then Jordan gets injured. Marbury goes to the outfield, opening up a position at first. But then the Cards make a blockbuster trade and bring in McGuire. So how tough was that period for you after you go up the Cardinals ladder? You even won their minor league player of the year, and now all of a sudden they make this blockbuster for the position that you had earned and played.
That's funny because I just told this story the other day, excuse me, to the team about, not quitting. And part of it was when I got called up with the Cardinals, went through all kind of, ownership change, management change. And so it went from speed and defense to all of a sudden power, with Tony La Russa coming in and Walt Jockey being the general manager. So when all that happened and I wound up getting traded to the Reds because I wound up getting sent down back to Louisville, and I was around my people, the guys that I got called up with, the guys that were in the minor leagues with me for those 5 years, people that I knew. And they was like, you belong up there. You just got to get your mind right. And I just got comfortable with playing the game again the way that I knew how to play it instead of trying to play Tony La Russa baseball. And then went off down there, got called back up. Moved to the outfield where at one time I was a defensive liability in the Cardinals' eyes because they couldn't find a position for me. They put me at, I started out at third, moved to first, was in the outfield. And once I got traded to the Reds, Jim Bowden looked at me as a prized possession. He was like, this kid switch hits, has some power, and he could play the corners, first, third, the corner outfield, and DH if needed. So as they say, one person's trash is another person's treasure.
And it's also interesting when you take a look at that Reds team, all right? You're considered one of the team leaders in a clubhouse which had Barry Larkin, the mayor Sean Casey, Jr., Aaron Boone, and Pokey Reese, all of them known as great clubhouse guys and leaders. You basically are one of the guys that everyone looks up to. That team, which at that point had one of the lowest payrolls in baseball, 10th lowest, I believe, at that point, is in the playoff hunt the entire year, gets Jack McKeon the Manager of the Year award as well. What do you remember most about your years playing with the Reds and the leadership role that the players looked up to you for?
Well, that's an awesome one because I love talking about my time with the Reds, especially when I got traded over from St. Louis, because when I got traded, it wasn't like, I got a new opportunity. It was more of I was soured that the team that I came up with looked at me in a way that, you know what, we don't see you in our future anymore. And, I kind of took that to heart. So when I went to spring training with the Reds, and I played with a whole bunch of them in the minor leagues, including Pokey Reese in the minor league. We were both drafted the same year in the first round of '91. And I played with Sean Casey for a little bit in the Arizona Fall League. The Cardinals sent me there after that season, and obviously to get eyeballs on me. And I was helping Sean Casey out at first base, not knowing that, we would eventually be teammates and vying for the same position nonetheless. But going through spring training and I just played with seriousness. I didn't have a smile on my face or anything. I was just, basically come in, do my job, leave. And Barry Larkin pulled me aside and he was like, hey, I heard from the guys that you're a good guy. You play hard and this, that, and the other. I remember what you did when you played against us last year. And he was just basically saying, we have fun here. I don't know how it was over there. Don't care. But over here, we put in our work and we have a good time and we have fun doing it. And he said, look around. And, I'm standing at shortstop because he called me over there. And I'm looking out, and it was like if you was at a doggone 4th of July barbecue. It was just like everybody laughing, having fun, but they were getting their work in, catching fly balls, and they was doing everything, but they was doing it in a sense where you gotta remember this game is fun. And he said, if I don't see you smiling and having a good time like the rest of us, I know you ain't making any money yet, but I'm gonna find you $100 every day. Yeah, that's when the smile came and never left. And that's when my career took off, because at that point I felt as though it was a family there. Barry Larkin turned it into a family, and I was able to grow not only as a ball player but as a person too. I mean, I bumped my head quite a few times along the way, but I'm 47. I'm still here teaching now, so I must have, did something right after all those wrongs.
I mean, just AJ Card, I find it fascinating what you said, nice words about Jim Bowden. And I can see how you might feel you developed a complex as your career developed. You think you're doing well in St. Louis, they trade for McGuire. You get to Cincinnati, you do very well. And then Jim Bowden starts talking, saying nice things about Deion Sanders to replace you. So did you have a point where you felt, we had a falling out with Jim Bowden and then patched that up when he signed you for Washington? What can you talk about your relationship with Jim Bowden over the years?
Well, I never had a bad relationship with Jim. He actually did me a favor after the 2001 season to get me to Detroit. And, I was thankful that he allowed me to have 4 years to flourish as a ball player, to be able to get to a point where another team would want me. So I looked at getting traded to Detroit more of a blessing in disguise. Like, hey, this team wants me to get them out of the crapper and help them, get back to the promised land that they once flourished in. And so I looked at that as gold. And then my exit out of Detroit was not exactly stellar. So it was good to have that good relationship with Jim Bowden, because he was the only one that would touch me in 2007. And because of that, and I was surrounded with, and I called it Cincinnati East, because Bob Boone was over there. It was a whole bunch of people that were in Cincinnati that were now over at Jose Cardinal, and people that I knew from my Cincinnati days were now over here with the Nationals. And some of my best days as a ball player was as a Cincinnati Reds, around that kind of surrounding. Lenny Harris was if I'm Rocky, he was Mickey.
No, you can't call him Mickey. I'm very good friends with Lenny, and Lenny can only be called by all time.
Oh no! I'm just
all time.
That ain't cool. Either that or cool.
Exactly.
But I'm just making that metaphor for people that are trying to picture. And we'll be up early every day at 6 o'clock. He's like, "Come on, Big D. They don't want to see you make it." And I'm like, "Yeah, they don't." And I'm just working and working and working, and at the same time falling back in love with the game. And then Jim Bowden gave me an opportunity to come up, because I was in accelerated camp. I wasn't even in big league camp. And so I did my stint down there. It was with Tony Batista, and then there was a whole bunch of minor leaguers that they had their eye on but didn't want to bring them up to big league camp just yet. That included John Lennon, Ian Desmond, Chris Marrero, guys like that, Craig Stamen. And I fell in love with the game, because the stuff that I went through in Detroit that year, they didn't know it. They didn't care. They was like, how was it facing Pedro Martinez? Or how was it playing at this stadium? And you know what? It went back to the roots of why I love baseball. And then because of that, had a couple of good games in front of Bowden, and they was like, we think you're ready to take this job. And I went up there and I didn't disappoint. And I wound up finishing my career on a high note and got into coaching. And I've been on the amateur side doing stuff with MLB and the Players Association, doing the Breakthrough Series, doing the Elite Development Invitational, which is now the Hank Aaron Invitational. Coached at Oaks Christian High School with Royce Clayton and Jeff Weaver. And now I took over at Camarillo High School, which I went to Rio Mesa. That was my high school. And that's the rival to Camarillo High School, which was Delman's high school.
Oh, wow. That's very cool the way it came from full circle. One of the other things that we wanted to touch on a little bit was when you were with the Cincinnati Reds, you started collecting baseball cards in 2000, a collection that grew to be one of the greatest rookie card collections in the country. What was it about collecting that appealed to you so much? And what was the one card, the one rookie card that was the holy grail for you?
Oh, well, baseball cards actually was what got me into baseball. Real outside of practicing with my dad, And yeah, I'm 47. So when we were growing up in the 80s, they would have at the concession stand on top of a hot dog and Coca-Cola, they would have a box of baseball cards on the side, 25 cents each, then later 35 cents, then 50 cents, and whatever the price is now, you see what I'm getting at. But anyway, I would go and I'd get me a couple of cards, here, 50 cents, let me get 2 packs. And I always liked the rookie cards because when I started playing baseball, it was in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and the Ties were in neighboring city, Norfolk. And my dad and I went to quite a few of those ball games and got to see Dwight Gooden in AAA, got to see Dale Strawberry in AAA, and see those different guys that moved up through the Mets organization, which was my team growing up, in case you were wondering. And so, you get the 84 tops and you got my Dale Strawberry rookie. I'm like, oh man, yeah, I'm gonna be collecting cards and stuff. And that's how it started. And then, when you have bad grades and your parents want to punish you, one of it was ass whooping. And the other one was, we're going to throw out your baseball card. This is your prized possession. You no longer have it. So the whole thing about collecting cards, once I got to the big leagues, was more of a middle finger F you to my folks.
So one question I want to ask you before we let you go.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. I forgot to tell you the Holy Grail.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll let y'all guess.
Oh, it's the Clemente card. It's got to be. No?
Good one, but no.
The Dmitri Young rookie card. Let's see.
We're going to throw that one out. We're going to throw that out. We still have strike one.
I assume, for a lot of collectors, this is the Mickey Mantle because it was the original, 50. So Mantle?
I did not have that one.
Okay. I don't know.
Better make this one count.
Give us a hint.
Oh my God! If I give you a hint, it's easily answered.
Okay.
Wow.
He's actually my all-time favorite player.
Henry Aaron.
Yep.
There we go. All right. That makes sense considering that. That's great. That's good stuff. AJ, you had a question before we wrap?
Ask a question. You mentioned this before about the effect on your life with diabetes, being diagnosed with that. How were you diagnosed? How did you realize that? And what happened after that? How much did that affect your baseball life and your life now?
Well, it was out there, the disastrous 2006. I was in Florida. I was attempting to patch things up with the ex. Didn't happen. But I just got real sick. My eyes got real blurry. I had a wound that didn't heal. And I knew something was going on. And it wasn't until night I got real sick. And I just remember talking delirious and made a call to the ambulance to take me to like a urgent care. And then when they got in there, my blood sugar was at like an 897. And then they rushed me to Cleveland Clinic. My A1C was like 21. And then they got down to 893. And they said, dude, you're supposed to be dead. And then that's how I found out that I was diabetic, because I didn't know beforehand. And from there, we just went on. And it took a few years, really, after going through all of that. And it took a few years for the lifestyle change to kick in. And once that wound up happening and changed the diet and got me a good woman, and everything changed for me. And then all of a sudden the weight started coming off. And like I said, I'm about 235 now. And I've been this size since 2011. And so, I attribute that to, just cleaning up my act. And I guess now being a coach and a teacher where kids they going through their problems and stuff, and when you have stuff that you've been through and has also been documented, they can Google me and like, oh dang, coach, I didn't know you did all this crap. It's like, yeah, I messed up, but you know what? What makes the man is how you bounce back. You know, when you bounce back and you take accountability for your actions, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, and you use that change in a positive, you know, that's moving forward as a man, you know, and whenever you do run into a problem, you run into it head on. You don't shy away, you don't back down, you don't quit. And that's what makes you grow. And that's what these kids do. Well, if they hadn't quit for my team, and I did have a couple quit, but yeah, and they're gonna regret it too. You know, the going gets tough, you quit. That's not a good mindset. Because now you taught yourself how to quit instead of battling through. And because those guys quit, now other guys stepped up, and I'm playing everybody. I have a Wu-Tang size roster of 24, and they all getting in. And for high school, that's a boatload of kids, especially, and that was because of COVID. You know, these kids was coming out when they didn't have to, but you know they were doing school from home, so I'm pretty sure they wanted to get out of the house and anything counted. But they came out there and they made it productive. And me as a coach, I look at that as effort. That is great effort for them to come out here and experience this. So I didn't cut anybody, but when things come back to normal next year, it's 18 on the team.
You know, who better to learn that experience about not quitting than a former Comeback Player of the Year award winner in the major leagues? Quickly before we let you go, you're the head coach, but you look at some of the managers you played for, Tony La Russa, Jack McKeon, Jimmy Leland, just name a few. So when you're talking to players or running a drill, do you ever hear one of those voices coming out of your mouth like, oh, no, I didn't just go there, did I?
You know what? You named some good ones, but for the last about 7 years, I've been around Jerry Manuel a ton. And let me tell you, he is so awesome to be around. He's so smooth and he talks to your soul. He inspires you when he talks to you. Because I've been doing the Breakthrough Series and the Hank Aaron Invitational, Elite Development Invitational with Major League Baseball, USA Baseball, and the Players Association. And, you know, we're reaching these young kids and it's about inspiring and encouraging and holding them accountable too. It's like, you messed up. It's like, hey, you messed up right there. This is how you do it. You know, we don't scold at them. We don't yell at them. I like his approach. I love Dusty Baker's approach. You know, he look like he ready to go out there and play. So I wear my jersey and stuff. You know, coaches wear the windbreaker pullovers or whatever. You know, when I ordered the uniforms, Oz, the East Bay guy, he was like, "Hey man, you wanna get a jersey for yourself?" I was like, "You doggone right I do." I'm like, "They look good. Me too."
Love it. I after the show tonight, I have to find out where I can get the Meat Hook T-shirt for sure. I'm getting that. And for those of you that are listening, and once you speak to Dmitri, you want more, make sure you check out his podcast, Wrestling Perspective Podcast. It's on Fight TV and YouTube. Dmitri, thanks so much for your time tonight. More importantly, thanks so much for being a role model to those young kids that you're coaching, as well as showing people how you can overcome adversity, as well as your work in the past with the Dmitri Young Foundation, nonprofit organization that provided baseball and life choices camp for student athletes in Southern California. We definitely want to have you back on because there's so much that we'd even cover tonight as well.
Oh, thank you very much. Looking forward to it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, and if you see all time, tell him Mark says hello.
And go
Mark from
Scorpions.
Fantasy Camp, for sure. All right?
I most certainly will.
You got it. The Meat Hook himself, Dmitri Young. Back with Russ Cohn in the Soho Table Hockey NHL Report right after this.
The Phoenix Tube Company Incorporated is among the country's leading manufacturers of structural ornamental stainless steel tubing, rectangles, squares, and processed flat bars. The company takes pride in its everyday commitment to quality and customer service. The philosophy of the company has been and continues to be to support the growth of the stainless tube market through distribution and service centers throughout the country. Ornamental and structural stainless steel tubing is used for a wide variety of aesthetic and mechanical products where superior finish and corrosion resistance are required. Some products manufactured include tubing for mirror bracket arms, boat rails and ladders, washroom grab bars, swimming pool rail products, medical equipment, automotive step bars and trimming, as well as structural framing for food processing equipment. For a quote or for more information on how the Phoenix Tube Company can meet your ornamental and structural stainless steel tubing needs, visit them on the web at phoenixtube.com or call them toll-free at 1-800-526-2124.
And welcome back to Sports Talk New York on the 365 Sportscast Network. It's time now for the NHL Report with Russ Cohn, sponsored by our friends at Soho Table Hockey. What's table hockey, you say? Some of us might have grown up with rod hockey or bubble hockey or even air hockey tables. Soho Table Hockey has, well, you know, we'd even talk about, you probably grew up with knock hockey, AJ. We should add that.
Of course, knock hockey.
I did too.
Soho Table Hockey is embracing the nostalgia of all those old tabletop games, designed a whole new board for the future. Handcrafted designer wood, state-of-the-art playing surface, unbendable rods, energy-absorbing walls. This is a table hockey game that players age 8 through 80 can enjoy. Even better, the exceptional quality and design allows the game to stand up to the intensity of tournaments, which is why Soho Table Hockey is the #1 choice of championship players throughout North America. Visit SohoTableHockey.com to learn more. Start your order on a custom game. You can choose your wood, a center ice logo, even the team matchups. Go ahead, drop the puck. You'll love Soho Table Hockey so much you won't be able to stop playing. Maybe if you did today, you played your first game, the Bruins versus the Penguins, and the Penguins win, and now you're playing the Rangers versus the Sabres because you need that game to crawl within 4 points of a playoff spot. Unbelievably, with after tonight, 8 games less in the season, because Zibanejad up to his old tricks, scoring his 18th goal of the season. So, what are you seeing, out of this playoff race?
I mean, you're seeing the very best out of the Rangers, and it's good that they could be in the race and sort of keep it close. I still don't believe they're going to make it, but I believe the run's important for them, and especially the youngsters. I saw the goal by Kakko. That's a really good goal for him. I mean, if he can find space on the ice, he'll get more goals. Like, it's that simple. But I do think the goaltending's winding down just a little. Like, we heard about Georgiev popping his knee back in. That's never a good thing. And I felt like the other night, Shesterkin looked a little tired. Like, this is a lot for him to play down the stretch in a condensed schedule.
I agree. But you know what? It seems other than that one game, I mean, he was up to the challenge. You're right. And there's a lot of these rookie guys. This is the most a lot of these players have played in their careers. You look at Keandre Miller, obviously, and now the new kid, Zach Jones, is kind of fit in seamlessly. But take a look at what's going on the island as well. Travis Zajac was the first time he was basically a healthy scratch. And we spoke about last week, he really does not seem to fit in with the Islanders right now. Are they they're making the playoff. I shouldn't say that because the Rangers can still conceivably catch them, but are they going to be in trouble with whatever first round matchup they're going to face right now?
I don't think so. I think the game will change when it hits the playoffs, and guys like Clutterbuck will find more of a role. Even someone like Casey Kazikis will probably have more of a role or be more effective. So I think they'll be fine when they make it. We know Varlamov will be the guy to start, but if for some reason he falters, they now have Sorokin, which is a nice landing spot. So I still think they're okay. Zajac not fitting in. I don't think when they made that trade, they were counting 100% on Zajac anyhow. That was more of a salary dump, but if they could get something out of him, great.
The noise in the background, I'm assuming you're at the Flyer game. Is that where you are?
Yeah, Flyers, Devils. Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you a question before we have a question after that as well. Do you think that if the Flyers do not make the playoffs, which they're not, and finish behind the Rangers, that AV is in trouble for his job for next season?
I don't think he's in trouble yet. I think he gets into next season. But I think at that point, him and Chuck Fletcher, they're both going to start being looked at. But I don't think he's in trouble yet.
All right. And the other thing we want to tell our listeners is that if they want to hear more from Russ Cohn, they can stay tuned to BT Talks Baseball, because you're going to be talking about your baseball books as well. And are you going to be talking any Stratomatic baseball there, Russ?
I don't know. I mean, I could. My team's in the race.
Yeah, you're in the race. Yep.
I don't want to jinx it.
All right.
I don't want to jinx it.
You got it. All right,
All
Russ.
right.
Thanks so
Thanks,
much,
Mark.
Russ Cohn, here each and every week with the Soho Table Hockey Report. We are going to take a quick break. On the other side, we are going to talk about breaking up those Knicks. And we'll also
we've got Sunday papers
live in studio for the first time. And if you are watching on YouTube or Facebook Live, we have a video clip that will be accompanying Sunday papers.
You have to watch it. It's really amazing to watch.
All right, we'll be right back. If you're a company looking to increase your visibility, to make sure your promotional materials get packaged in the most attractive way and distributed most efficiently, then you need to call in PIMS. Whether you're launching a new product and need to assemble customized influencer packages, or looking for a more efficient way to manage your inventory and collateral, PIMS involvement helps maximize the impact of your brand's performance. For more than 30 years, PIMS has been helping companies get their message out to the right people, offering personalized distribution services and full-scale inventory management solutions. PIMS works its magic on 3 continents, backed by 350,000 square feet of warehouse space. If you're looking for experience, PIMS is it. They've shipped more than 13 million packages and elevated more than 8,000 brands. Want to know more? Check them out on the web, PIMSinc.com. That's PIMSINC.com, and read testimonials from their satisfied clients. That's PIMS, the first name in marketing support. Oh, you're not playing his theme song? You forgot his theme song. He's back live? We got it. There we go. All right, AJ. Joe Jackson's here. You're here. What do you got?
Well, this one comes out of all places, Utah, and a girls' high school track meet. And you're seeing people in the stands. They get excited. They see people competing. They cheer. Well, also, apparently at this track meet, it was bring your dog to the meet game. And somebody brought their dog to a track meet who's watching a relay race. And she sees the handoff of the baton. And of course, thinking this is a stick to go fetch, actually goes to try and fetch. And suddenly the dog has entered the relay race. And by the way, with about 100 yards to go, the dog wins. You have to actually go out. The girl who actually won the race said she was very afraid. She knew something was happening. She thought that a competitor was catching up to her.
Yes, the
and
crowd was cheering like
crowd was
crazy.
cheering, going. And then she saw the dog's afraid she was going to, spike the dog or trip over the dog. So you actually have to go out. This is Logan High School in Utah. You have to look at the video and see the dog that won the relay race in the track meet.
And you know what? Maybe a very good segue to that is maybe that dog is what the New York Knicks were 11 games ago, because the Knicks were like plummeting. They were not playing well. They were going through a very bad stretch, and now they're on the verge of winning maybe their 10th straight game. It has been absolutely amazing. The crowd yesterday at the Garden, the energy of the fact that they're going to make the playoffs.
Even when only 2,000 people allowed at Madison Square Garden, it sounds like it's a full place. And look, I've been in the Garden when it's full with 20,000 people, and you can feel the building shake when they go crazy. But it sounds like it has that type of energy. People have really adopted this team. They're warm to this team. They look at it. They're excited for the players. So, Chaim, what's your thoughts about what's going on? How long can this streak go on?
Monday is going to be a real big test. Phoenix is a really good team, well coached, up and coming, also young.
And they lost to the Nets today, so they'll have a chip on their shoulder.
Right. Well, they always do. Considering what the Knicks were not that long ago, nobody really wants to lose to the Knicks. And everybody, especially when you have a star, particularly a young one whose name isn't his brand. God, I hate that phrase. Whose brand might not be established quite the way some of the older veterans are, like a Devin Booker, somebody who's almost more famous for being underrated and overlooked than he is for his ability. Typically, when they come to the Garden, they show up and show out. So I'm expecting, I think 10 was a really nice number. I think it's a really nice run, but I think Monday night it might be over. As far as how far they can ride this hot streak, I wouldn't be shocked if they pick it right back up afterwards. Honestly, they've outlasted and surpassed my expectations by a great deal. The way Coach Thibodeau, the way he handles minutes, the workload he gives to a guy like Julius Randle, who, I know that he's gotten in shape. It's been well documented, spoken about a lot. RJ Barrett, who's, still a kid, 1 year out of college, a one and done prospect, and a bunch of what are essentially role players from, bit and spare parts from other NBA teams who were just looking for a place to prove themselves. And these guys are playing not just starters minutes, but playoff minutes under Coach Thibodeau for an entire season, and they seem to be holding up. So, they're playing with house money at this point, and it might be time to adjust the expectations for what this team is.
Well, two quick things. One, I read something in the story about Randall past day or so ago, and looking at what Coach Thibodeau has done to the team. And he said, when they were changing coaches, he talked to Leon Rose, I think it was, and said, there are all these things, the past coaches, this team, just all sorts of stuff slide, and Thibodeau is not doing this. He said, we were allowed to slide and be lazy and not do things. And, he took control of his life himself in the offseason. He got in better shape. He practiced shooting, and he shows off. So he appreciates apparently this type of coaching from Thibodeau. So the point that I have is right now they're in the fourth position. Is it important that they stay there, that they get home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs, or just, happy to be there attitude for that? Do they have to look beyond this? Do they want home court advantage? Does it really matter? Will it make a difference to them?
Important in terms of getting out of a first round, yes, because they want to be playing one of those play-in teams. They want to have the dominant position. Important as far as what this, I guess, revitalized and rejuvenated franchise it means. To have playoff basketball at home in the Garden, that's huge. That was unthinkable. As far as, to whether or not to consider this season a success, do they need to have the 4? I don't think so. I think at this point, there is absolutely nothing that can happen barring catastrophic injury or neglect to an RJ Barrett or a young player that could deem this season anything short of success. Like I said, the expectations might have to be readjusted. It might just be, hey, let's get above 500, or all right, we're going to make a playoff team, or we're going to avoid the play-in. And now it might be, we got to take a series in the playoffs, because that's what this team might be capable of. Nobody wants to face what's essentially, the 90s Knicks 2.0, the grinded out 80-point game and 3-point shooting that seemingly come out of nowhere.
It's unbelievable. It's been a great story all year. We appreciate it. Cam Talbot here each and every week with the NBA. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll wrap with the NFL report with Jay Retcher. So keep it tuned right here to Sports Talk New York on the 365 Sportscast Network.
Decolator Cohen and DePrisco, LLP, is pleased to introduce their website, policeofficersrighttosue.com, as an educational and informative site designed to instruct members of the law enforcement community of their civil rights in line-of-duty accidents. Many law enforcement members are not aware of their rights to sue and fail to bring lawsuits within a specific time frame, thereby forfeiting their ability to seek rightful compensation against those parties that cause officers to be injured. PoliceofficersRightToSue.com provides successful past results of line-of-duty lawsuits. These examples range from officers being provided with inadequate equipment, RMP accidents, slip and falls, and station house mishaps. If any law enforcement member has a question regarding a potential lawsuit, they can contact DCD at policeofficersrighttosue.com or at 1-800-901-1LAW. That's policeofficersrighttosue.com or 1-800-901-1LAW.
And welcome back to Sports Talk New York on the 365 Sportscast Network. Just quick Major League Baseball note. It's hard to call it, but it's an official game. It's a 7-inning game. So Madison Bumgarner threw a no-hitter, 7-inning game.
It is not a no-hitter. Officially, if it's a 7-inning game, it is not a no-hitter.
Not official, but he threw a no-hitter.
He threw 7 innings of no-hit ball, but doesn't go into the records as a no-hitter.
So let's say, now, here's what I think. So if Madison Bumgarner throws 2 innings of no-hit ball in his next start, what is that?
That's 2 innings of no-hit ball in his next start. That's what it is.
It is really crazy. But, and then why is it also considered a shutout for 7 innings? A complete game. It shouldn't be. Listen, if it's a complete game, in fairness to Madison Bumgarner, it should be considered a no-hitter. I'm sorry. All right, let's talk, Jay, for a few minutes. We all have seen so many mock drafts over and over again, and we all kind of think we know where it's going. But if I was to ask you a different type of question, is there one spot, one team where you think, we're going to be shocked and everyone's got it wrong, and it's not going to be for a quarterback, it's not going to be for a receiver, it's going to be in a totally different direction?
It's going to be the Jets taking Ken O'Brien. That's what's going to happen.
Kenny and the Jets. To me, I think the big spot is the 4 spot with the Atlanta Falcons. I've seen everything from them taking Justin Fields to them taking Kyle Pitts. But to me, in that 4 spot, guys, when I look at that, to me, that's a prime trade prospect right there. If they can trade out of that spot, there's going to be teams that are hungry for a quarterback in that position. I'm looking at a lot of trades, especially between picks 4 through 11. And watch out for the Giants and the Patriots at pick number 11 there. Everybody keeps saying, oh, the Patriots might trade with the Cowboys. But, man, there's that familiarity with Joe Judge there. You know Dave Gettleman wants to trade back. If a guy like Justin Fields is still there at 11 and New England really wants him, don't be surprised if the Pats and the Giants do some business.
You know, Jay, there's always in every draft one player who's touted in advance, and then, he drops like a stone. Who do you think is this year's prime candidate to drop like a stone?
I think it might be Trey Lance, the quarterback from North Dakota State. Watching his tape from the pro day the other day, not overly that impressed. And this is a guy, and I look at him and I say, you can't make any other argument about other players and the lack of competition and not bring him up. And especially when the last guy you can compare him to is Carson Wentz, who's had a precipitous fall in Philadelphia. So Trey Lance to me is the guy where I wouldn't touch him in the first 15 picks, but there's teams that think he'll go as high as 4. He's the guy that I think could really drop, like you said.
And before we let you go, it's very interesting because we spoke about this. I kind of like his gunslinger mentality, but you detailed, he didn't really have a great year until this year, had a great pro day. But all of a sudden, you're reading all these glowing articles. Is it just the fact because all of a sudden, he's linked to New York that we're starting to build this guy up to be, a legit, franchise top quarterback?
Justin Wilson.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think it's very curious that after the Ohio State-Clemson game and you see Justin Fields go down with an injury and then come back and then beat a really good Clemson defense with a bunch of guys that are going to be playing the NFL one day. After that night, he was the second pick. He was the second guy off the board. And now no other games have been played really since that to make you look at him and think he's not the second best quarterback. But somehow there's been that kind of combination with Zach Wilson and the Jets. And you're right, guys. The more and more you see, him mock to the Jets, it's kind of like where there's smoke, there's fire. And it seems like everybody I'm talking to, those 2 picks are in the bag. Lawrence to Jacksonville and Zach to New York.
We'll know more about it next week for sure. Right. All right, Jay, I was remiss. I'm going to do it now because I should have done it as the introduction. That was the Capco NFL Report with Jay Retcher. Even though it is spring, summer will be here before you know it. It's time to get your windows and doors ready to let the fresh air in, the bugs out with a Clearview retractable screen. Clearview retractable screen system comes standard with a lifetime warranty, the patented speed reducer so it won't snap back. You get the luxury of a screen door and a sleek low-profile design without the hassle of a bulky storm door or sliding screen door. Call 631-440-1100 for a free estimate. That's 631-440-1100 or visit them on the web at Clearview, Long Island. All right, so we're going to wrap it here, and right after us is going to be Brett Topel, and you're going to get more of Russ Cohn on BT Talks Baseball. So keep it tuned right here all night, guys. We'll see everyone next week. Most importantly, stay healthy and stay safe. We'll see everyone next week.